welcome to the Wednesday night Grumpy Sound Guy show. I am J.R. Everhart, the Grumpy Sound Guy himself, or so I am told anyways. This week, I just want to real quick kind of touch on some things that I'm running into. It is June. We are in peak season in 2024 here to kind of timestamp the video. And we're getting a lot of last minute event promoters and stuff kind of coming to the table in desperation. Let me kind of put it that way. Most of this stuff, let me start off this way, because I'm kind of freestyling here tonight. If you are a concert promoter, a festival organizer, whether it's a wine festival, beer festival, local community concert series, any of that kind of bigger outdoor stuff, middle market outdoor stuff, crowds are somewhere between 600 and 3,000 people, depending on what community you're in, whether you're in a park or whether it's a purpose-designed event that people go to every year. Please know that those of us in the production business, we book summer like January and February and March. Those are really the 3 months, the first quarter of the year. By the time we get to April, most of our summer's gone. It just is, because people who got their stuff together, people who are organized, they have all that stuff ready to go in January, February, and March, So if you want to get your dates blocked out, that's the time to call. Not in June for an event that happens the first week of, August, or the second week of July, or something like that, or even God forbid, the 4th of July, which is less than a month away, or about a month away. I think we're about June 4th when I'm recording this here or whatever. But yeah, so there's a little word of advice to all you guys. If you're a club owner that does a big shindig in the parking lot every year, or you have an outside deck area and you want to start booking your summer concert series on the deck, that's going to require, a sound system of some kind or something like that. Man, you really need to be making those phone calls back during the winter months, when guys like me are really just sitting around at our desk and in front of our laptop for weeks at a time, writing contracts, taking deposits, and marking up the calendar, with a black Sharpie. So let me just preempt the whole video with that, okay? So now that we have that as a foundation, you're going to see where I'm going by laying that foundation. So I got cats that are calling me now, for events in July and August. Really, in our area here in the Mid-Atlantic, the busiest months are May and June, spring and early summer, and September and October into early November. Like, I was still doing some outdoor stage stuff up into like the week before Thanksgiving last year. They were day gigs that happened from like 12 to 5, in the warmest part of the day. People would put on a fall jacket. People actually enjoyed the temperature. I enjoyed the temperature. I always loved it. Fall is my favorite time of the year. So July and August is usually hit or miss. There's some people who are dead set on midsummer festivals. There's other people who understand that a lot of people take their vacations in July and August, and it's hot as the surface of the sun in our area in July and August. The humidity drives the temperatures up to the 110, 115 mark or whatever. I can remember a few years ago, I did a second stage thing with Papa Roach, and it was, man, I think the heat index was like 118 that day or something. It was insane. I had fans on all the amp racks, and it was a crazy day trying to keep stuff running. I only had one amp go into thermal that day, and that's because somebody bumped into the fan that was on the amp rack, and it got a little warm. I had a backup there. I was kind of anticipating that, There we are, building redundancy into our systems. We have a video on that. If you go back into the archives, you can find that video and check that out. So I just kind of swapped the inputs and outputs on the amps real quick, got the fan back on the rack. We were back up and going in about 3 or 4 minutes, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But my God, it was hot. It was so hot. And, and that always happens, on a weekend when we're doing 5 shows in 3 days or something. and you're already just completely exhausted when you show up. And then when you do, 12 to, 16 hours in that kind of heat, you're just ready to collapse after that. At least I am anyway. So that's why July and August is kind of hit or miss or whatever. So, if you're calling for some of those dates, I might have some of those dates open because it's, like I said, it's a little hit or miss in those months. But, here's the purpose of the video. Why do you wait until you need a favor to call me? Why do you wait until you're in a situation where you got to have stage sound and lights, but you don't hardly have any budget, and everybody's all booked up because, you waited too long to try and get this stuff for the event, and now I'm your last ditch phone call? And I mean, 3 sentences into the conversation, you tell me twice that there's no budget here, you don't have any money, you really need help to try to get this done, in a very economically friendly manner. And my immediate response to that is, why am I the guy you call when you have no money? Where were you when you had money? Where were you with the events and the times that you're hiring my competition and you got a budget and you're giving them all your money? Now that they're booked and you can't get anyone to cover your event and you're kind of got your rear end in a sling, why am I your phone call now? Like, am I the only one that thinks that that's weird? Or thinks that that's really rude? I mean, I know they were coming from a honest place of just not knowing, because people don't even know what they don't know. I mean, that's the reality of this business. Let me say that again. Most people don't even know what they don't know, So I was kind of put back by the conversation. I wasn't available for what they wanted to do. And then when I tell them that, then they want me to start giving them the numbers of the people I would recommend to do that. Well, the reality of that is I would never send someone that I respect, trust, and consider a friend to a client like that, because you have no budget. We don't do this for free, people. We have to be able to pay our bills the same way you got to pay you. This isn't a hobby for us. I know you look into our world through the eyes of social media and that sort of stuff and YouTube and think that we're living some kind of rock star lifestyle over here, and money just magically shows up in our mailbox every week and we just get to go party every weekend. Yeah, we are very much part of every party you want to go to, but it's not a party for us. It's work. I don't allow any drinking on my job with my guys. That I don't drink. Some of my other guys drink. When they drink at home, that's fine. What you do in your own time is your own business. That's between you and God. I got no issue with that whatsoever. But when you're on my job, you're representing CLP Audio, I expect you to be sober and vigilant and, ambitious and there to, make the best impression that you can make for wearing the CLP Audio colors. You know what I mean? So I mean, all that stuff comes with a price, and I'm not about to send any of my friends to you because you have no budget. I mean, I think that would be disrespectful, because if I was the guy on the other side of that, I'd be sitting there thinking, JR really thinks that I have such a low perceived value that he would send me this client that he knows has no budget? That's borderline rude, Now, if I call him ahead of time and saying, hey, I don't know if you're open or you're interested in this, but this client is looking for somebody. They claim they don't have any money. If you don't want to help them out, I'm okay with that. You're not going to offend me. But they asked me if I knew anyone, and I kind of felt like maybe there was something about the gig that made me think of them, maybe something they'd be interested in, or a cause that they may want to get behind or something like that. That was not the case with this client that called me. They were trying to book just a legit, day festival or whatever. And it's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you out, If I can't turn a profit, there's no sense in me leaving the shop. And I know I've said that a million times on this channel. So, having that whole situation come to the forefront and having that situation kind of get the old brain wheels moving, I thought I would do a video and talk about that situation and talk about other things that you need to look out for while you're bidding this summer concert series stuff, because 'tis the season. We are in peak season here. June, I swear, I keep telling everybody, June is determined to try and kill me. We are just absolutely slammed. I can't say that enough, slammed. Was just on the phone with someone before I hit record asking for, some support for next week. And I'm like, I got a 4-day festival to do next week. I'm booked. I'm sorry. Most of my staff is out too. I can maybe make a phone call and try to find somebody, but I don't know. I mean, it is a loyal client and a loyal customer and there's budget there, but man, it's tough. It's tough this time of year. So the things you need to be looking out for and the traps I don't want you to fall into. The biggest one, and I'm just freestyling here. I didn't make any notes to give you, here's number 1, here's number 2, here's number 3. I'm just going to talk until I'm tired of talking, and then you guys can shut me off or do whatever you want to do on your end. Which, by the way, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. This content's free. Could you at least support the channel and support the content? We're trying to get monetized here on YouTube. Not for the money, because that just means you get like $10, $12 checks every month. But it unlocks a bunch of other things marketing-wise to help get the video in front of more people. And YouTube kind of gets behind you. It validifies or validates, the channel once you're monetized. So we're trying to get to that 500 mark, which is where you get monetized. I think we're like over 300 or something, 325 or something like that. I haven't looked in a few days, so I really don't know. But hit the subscription button if you would, please. And then getting into the meat of this is, here's the number one scenario I run into more than anything else. A client calls me and they want me to somehow, they're nervous about the event, okay? Let's say that they're hiring a B National and they got a couple, or let's even say they're just, going with a big ticket regional act that costs, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and then a couple local acts to support that regional act. And they're into it for, I don't know, they're into it for 7-8 grand just with bands, and then into it for another 10 or 12 grand with me, and they're scared. They're scared. So what they want to do is they want to wrangle you into the risk part of the event. Now, the concert promoter or the guy who's throwing the event is the guy who's going to make all the money off of ticket sales, selling vendor spaces, all the means by which, if they're doing any form of gambling like 50/50s, or they're running silent auctions or tip jars or any of that kind of stuff, they're the one that maximizes their profits from those things. 100% of the time in this scenario, if I go in and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to assume risk with you, I'm going to be your buddy, because they're all about trying to buddy you up because they need your services. And then if the thing rains, they want to cancel the day of the show because it got rained out. And then now you've lost a show date that you could have booked someplace, maybe indoor, could have done a corporate thing, any number of things you could have done on that day. Now you've lost that day of service and you're out everything because you assumed part of the risk. Now, on the flip side of that, if the event is absolutely gangbusters successful, the weather's beautiful, people show up in droves, they make huge money off of the ticket sales and all the things that I mentioned. They never, not once, have come to me and said, JR, I know CLP Audio usually charges 12, 14 grand for this gig, but can you do it for half that? And then if you agree to that, when it's a success, they never come to you and they say, hey, we know that you usually charge that amount. Say, hey, we're going to go ahead and give you that amount because you assumed some of the risk with us and you were able to help us get where we needed to be. Nope, that's not the way it works. What usually happens is you get paid that lowball price and they laugh all the way to the bank. So when I sell my services the same way the Porta-John guys or the tent rental guys or any of the other vendors, that they're renting services from to do the event. My contract reads the same way as theirs. We get paid whether it rains or doesn't rain. In fact, you're going to put usually half down when you sign the contract. That concretes your date on the calendar, and then you're going to pay me the other half 5 to 7 days before the event. So we have working capital to actually cover staff and overhead and stuff the week of the event. We don't front that money to the client. We make the client come up with it because we're under contract to show up and do what we're going to do, and we fully plan to do that. If it gets rained out or something, then that's the risk you took as a concert promoter. I'm sorry that you lost in that situation if it gets rained out. I genuinely am, and I will do my best to try and be sympathetic to that, to that degree. But at the same time, I can't assume that risk, because if this thing is crazy successful, are you going to come pay me double what I agreed to do? No, you're not, because you never do. They want to lowball you and lowball you and lowball you and cry poor mouth that they don't have any money, they don't have any budget. You're always going to be ahead of the game just to let those clients go. Now, I know some people that will work with that stuff and let people screw them over. Usually guys who have a big time paying day job and they kind of just do this, they're weekend warriors, they do this as a hobby. So if they lose money, it's not the end of the world. They can still pay their bills, But, excuse me, I'm not that guy. I'm full time. I need to make money every time I go out. Otherwise, I'm saving money by not taking those kind of gigs. I'm helping myself by pushing those clients to my competition who, if they're stupid enough to assume risk with them people, then hey man, go at it. Maybe you'll win at it. Maybe you'll be happy with the bare minimum and you're happy that you just were able to do the event and you get to blow up like a rock star all over your social media accounts with the pictures from the event. And hey man, whatever. I'm not mad at you. You go do you, boo. But COP Audio doesn't roll that way. We have to make a measurable profit. Otherwise, why are we even doing this? I mean, really, guys. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just the way it is. This isn't a hobby. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory. I didn't get that by losing money. I can't stay in business by being your buddy and assuming the risk that, hey, if it don't work out, well, then no one gets paid. What about my staff? What about the 5 or 6 guys that, were depending on that money? They budgeted that money into their monthly budget, and now I just call them up and say, oh, well, it rained out, so none of us get paid. I can guarantee you that the headlining band contract says that they get paid rain or shine, because those upper echelon regional bands and B nationals, they take zero risk. Zero risk. That's where I got all this from, was from working with nationals and stuff like that and understanding that the way they do business is the best way to do business. Yes, it's uncomfortable for people who are nervous about being able to pay you, but do you really want to work for those people who may or may not have your money? I've told this story before, but I was on a gig a couple of years ago where they were supposed to pay the guy at load in, and he kind of just got busy, getting everything loaded in. And I know what it's like, man. You get in the zone and you're just trying to get everything up and going and ready for the first band and ready to rock this thing out. And, no one is coming to give him a check or anything. He had to stop the show after the first band. He refused to move forward until he got paid. And he was well within his rights to do that. And, the promoters ended up having to pay him on like 2 or 3 credit cards to get him his money. It was a fiasco. And then I think he still waited another week or two for the last, $400 or $500 that they owed him. That's why you don't assume risk. That's why you demand payment 5 days before the event. You should have enough money from ticket sales and sponsorship money landing in your organization's bank account to be able to pay me. You gave me half down when you signed the contract, 6 months ago or 5 months ago or whenever that was. Now I need the other half, so we can come and execute the gig. It is what it is, man. So that's a big trap that I see a lot of guys falling into, is someone talking them into taking a risk. Like, hey man, I hope this works out. Whenever they start saying things like that, man, red flags go up in my head. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Red flags start going up, and I'm like, I don't know about this guy. And they might be the nicest people in the world, and they might have a genuine heart. Remember what I said. Most people don't know what they don't know. When they say this is the first time they've done an event like this, that's always a red flag. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna make sure my contract is signed and they understand the terms of the contract. I'm not trying to sneak anything in under the radar in the fine print. It's right there in bold, that you need to be paying these things. I had a guy, way out in Western Maryland a couple years ago that signed a contract, canceled the event, postponed the event to the next year because of COVID. I was 100% cool with all that, no problem. I will forward your deposit once. That's my rule. One time. I will forward your deposit to a rescheduled date. I don't do it all the time, but COVID was, something none of us had control over. So we get to the next year and he just kind of chickens out on the event. And he's like, man, he goes, I'm not going to do the event. I'm afraid of it. It's all in my name, liability, blah, blah, blah. And I get all that, I get all that's why you buy liability insurance, what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. But those were all problems on his end of the world, not mine. Those are not my problems, And, he wanted me to refund his deposit. It says clearly in the contract, the deposit is non-refundable. Because now I haven't lost just one performance date. I've lost 2 performance dates. Now, I'll give you the first one in that scenario because it was, we were all dealing with COVID. Now, this was fall when things were starting to open back up and that sort of thing. We could have done the event. But it's a legitimate reason and I let it slide. But then the following year, man, we were doing outdoor stuff all the time and it was an outdoor event. People could social distance. It was a regular thing. All the breweries were back open. We were doing all our usual festival circuit stuff. It wasn't too bad. This was 21 and he just chickened out. And I'm like, I've never refunded a deposit under those terms. Never. Not once. I will use your deposit toward another event, I guess. I mean, it's within my rights to just keep it at this stage of the game because you've cost me two event dates. So then the whole thing ended up, he hired me to come and do some smaller indoor thing, threw a couple $100 on top of it. And I did it just to save face with other people that were in that area that I'm friends with, that I didn't want to leave a bad taste in their mouth. Because, that's the problem with this situation. When you got a client that doesn't read the contract and doesn't have their shit together, then, it makes it tough for guys like us to do the right thing. Because you put me in, I don't want to be in that position, man. I don't have that in the contract because I want to take your money. I'm only doing that to save my rear end because of these situations. I don't want to take your money. I want to do the event. I'm selling you a service. I didn't buy all this inventory to just set on it. I want to go out and do your event. I want to rock it out, dude. I want to post pictures on my social media accounts and, look like the rock star for the day. I love doing what I do. I have staff in place. Everything is scheduled, dude. That's what I told this guy. Like, I got staff in place scheduled for this event. We want to execute the event. It's never our intentions to not want to do the event. We always want to do the event. We love doing what we do. But we also want to get paid, And if you can't pay us and you're the guy coming to me canceling the event, I didn't assume any risk on this. This is all on you, dude. You got to figure it out. So to save face with some other people in the area of influence that I love and I respect, I went up and did one by myself, and we did a little indoor thing, and it made everybody happy, and it just was what it was. And, if the guy calls again, guess what? I'm not answering the phone. I have no desire to do business with somebody like that, because how is that benefiting me? It was more trouble than what it was worth. It really genuinely was. I don't want to work with people like that, and you shouldn't want to work with people like that either. If they don't make paying me a priority, I'm not interested in working with you. And I have walked away from very established bands with big calendars because they wanted to jerk me around on payment. I don't play those games. I'll give you a goof up once because everybody makes a mistake. Murphy's Law is what it is. But after that, if you don't make paying me a priority, I'm not interested in making you a priority. I'm not interested in making your band a priority. I'm not interested in making your event a priority on my calendar, because my calendar is set up in a way to where I want to draw clients that do have money and do intend to execute the gigs and not book the gig and then, a month later cancel and want their deposit back. Dude, read the contract. That's not what this is about. Don't book the event if you're not going to do the event. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So those are the scenarios that you got to really, really watch out for, because they'll drag you into a pit and they don't care. They don't care if your system gets rained on. They don't care if everything that you own gets broken and be like, man, that's awful. I mean, they'll be all compassionate and sympathetic, but at the end of the day, you're the guy stuck holding the bill to fix everything. You're the guy that's stuck in, trying to, put 10 grand worth of freaking racks back in your amp rack because water poured in them or something like that. The other thing is too, while we're talking about weather, is, taking the stance, and again, I have this in my contract as well, taking the stance that I am in charge of whether the show goes on or not when it comes to dealing with weather. If water is starting to gather on the stage, pull up on the stage, now we have an electrical issue, because people could get electrocuted. I'm stopping the show until the storm passes. If there's any kind of lightning anywhere, lightning can strike as far as 7 to 10 miles away, can strike you. We have the stage grounded, generators grounded. We have everything, done the way it's supposed to be done, but that's no guarantee that you're not going to get struck by lightning. So the reality of it is, man, is like, I'm not going to put anybody's life in danger, because this whole thing is on my dime, it's on my liability insurance. If something was to go wrong and someone was to get hurt or, God forbid, killed, when you have to go to court and deal with that situation, everybody who claimed to be your friend is going to sit in court and point at you and say, here's his contract. It clearly says he's the expert on site. He's the one that makes the call. And I remind the promoter of that when they are standing there yelling at me to get the band back on stage. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't do it. We can't do it. I got to be the jerk at that point. And it has cost me business before because they think I'm being a jerk. No, I'm trying to protect the artist. I'm trying to protect my systems. We're shutting everything down. There's lightning all over the place. We can't operate under these conditions. And when that thing goes to court, you're the guy who's going to be seen as the expert on site. It's your company, your liability insurance, and if there's any negligence whatsoever, guess what? Your insurance company ain't going to pay anything, and you're going to be on the hook. I have seen this sort of thing put big production companies out of business. Out of business, and I mean overnight. Trying to do stuff, stage collapsing on people and people getting killed and hurt and everything. I mean, just horrible, horrible stuff. So I take zero risk, zero, because it's my name on the side of the stage. It's my name, on the side of the box truck. It's my liability insurance, and I'm not taking any risks, man. If it ain't safe and we can't do it. Now, I've done shows in the pouring down rain where it was safe, where water was not blowing in on the stage. We didn't have any electrical issues on stage. The stage was fine, but it was pouring down rain every place else. I did an Oktoberfest last year, and it was absolutely poured down rain, but we were under a huge park pavilion. We had the sides closed in, and it was safe. It was safe. My front of house build looked like one of these DIY Alaskan cabins or something. I had the thing all tarped up and everything else. I could have just moved into it, but it was raining. I mean, torrential downpour, but we had no lightning and we had no monkey business that way. It was just a lot of water and it was a mess. It was an absolute mess, but we got one night of one of the 3 nights. We got one night off with good weather, and the next 2 days was just a disaster. But you know what? Every band played. They had 2 huge tents set up next to front of house that they had, probably 200-300 people in. There was no one in front of the stage, but there was plenty of people under the tents. So the show went on. You know, it's not like I don't want to do the show. You know, don't treat me like that guy. Don't treat me like Debbie Downer who's just trying to boof on the show. No, I want to do the show. If we can do the show, we will do the show. But it's up to us, guys, to make that stance and have to be the bad guy and stand there and tell the person that wrote your check, no, we can't do this. This is not safe. We're working to make it safe, but we can't do this. A lot of times I'm like, give us another 30 minutes. I don't know what to tell you. Or the radar is showing another 45 minutes or 90 minutes of torrential downpours, and it's blowing water right on the stage, or there's lightning. You have to wait 30 minutes from the last lightning strike that you've seen, or the light, light up in the sky at all that you may see in the distance. You got to wait 30 minutes from that last lightning before you can start again. So that's where we are. I had a gig last year over the 4th of July, I believe it was. And we had exactly that situation play out where we had to, got the opening bands done, and then we shut everything down for about 90 minutes to let a line of storms, electrical storms, pass by. They passed by. Once they got past us and we got 30 minutes under our belt from the last lightning strike, we fired back up, and man, we did the show. Again, we want to do the show, It's not like we don't want to do the show, but it has to be done in a safe manner. So you need to stand up for those things, and you need to protect yourself in those scenarios. We all have to work in the rain at some point or another. It was a running joke last year. It seemed like in our company, every time we had to tear the stage down, it had either just stopped raining, which meant the roof was just full of water on the stage, or it was currently raining. We tore down in the pouring down rain more times than I can count last year. We could not get a break. The events would go off well, but if they would get the bands done and the bands loaded out, and we'd get, audio down just in time, and the clouds would open up, and it would be, just a torrential downpour, and we're tearing the stage down. No lightning, just rain, just water. And there we are, tearing the stage down in the rain. So that's kind of what we do. It's not like we're afraid of water. We just want to make sure that everybody gets to go home, that night without injury, without any incident. And that even if it was an unfortunate situation, the best thing you can hope for in those situations from a concert promoter's standpoint is people to walk away and say, man, that sucked that we got rained out. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is, man, those guys should have never went back on stage. Can you believe it? Lightning struck the stage, and now there's 3 people in the band in the hospital in critical condition. And, one of the crew members got killed, because he was standing, next to the generator or something or whatever. I don't ever want those conversations to be what people are talking about from shows that we were involved in. I'll take the fact that Mother Nature didn't cooperate. We can't control Mother Nature, and that it's unfortunate that the promoter lost money and that we had to take his money. I hate that. I really honestly do. When they call back the next year, I may even try to give them a 10 or 15% discount just to try to soften the sting a little bit from the previous year's issues, but I can only go so far with that. It really depends on how the client treats me. If they treat me like I'm a crook just trying to steal money from them, I'll probably never answer the phone again when they call, because I don't want to deal with people like that. But if they see my point of view and understand that this is just the cost of doing business, then I will always try to bend over backwards and help them out in some other way. Or if it's a band, I'll hook a band up, and try to, give them a break on a gig, like an indoor gig, especially over the wintertime or something. I'll try to hook them up and do what I can do to make them feel a little better about having to lose the money. But at the end of the day, when you secure the date, that date is on, rain or shine. Again, I absolutely hate it, when it doesn't work out, but that's just the way the business works. So one more time, would you please subscribe to the channel? Please like, share, follow, all the stuff. We'll give shout out to the U.S. Air Force that is now flying over the garage. It never fails. If you start a video, you're going to have the farmer across the street, cutting hay. You're going to have a C-5 cargo plane, fly over your shop, low flying, touch and go. We're only like a mile from the from the air base here in West Virginia, the Air Guard. It's a weekend reserve guard. So they fly over our place all the time, and we love those guys. We support them. I'm actually playing out there June 29th, I think it is, the last Saturday of this month, with my band J3. We're opening up for 38 Special. So if you are in the Martinsburg, West Virginia area and you'd like to come out and see me play some really cool, super psychedelic Southern rock and blues, please come check us out. I think we're going on. We're the first band on. There's 2 bands and then 38 Special, us, a country band, and then 38 Special. I think we go on somewhere around 2 o'clock or something, 3 o'clock, somewhere in that ballpark. Check the local listings if you're coming through the area and you'd like to meet me and you'd like to maybe have some conversation about Grumpy Sound Guy stuff. I absolutely love those conversations. I love meeting my fans, and everywhere I go, there's somebody who wants to talk about the content, and I always enjoy those conversations, especially if you're in a band and you're looking for some advice or something like that. Absolutely 100% love, having those conversations. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, I am that guy. I am a guy who has launched many people's careers, groomed many bands, and really set people on the pathway to success whenever my resources were valuable to their situation. So, by all means, come see us, come check us out. Love you guys. See you next week.